And we're live.
Woo! Woo! All right. Hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Pinfall podcast. I'm Elizabeth. Today, I'm joined with my favorite host of all the hosts that I have. Favorite co-host of all the co-hosts I have. Mark Mifsud.
It's a very low bar since I'm the only co-host you've had.
Pete's counts as a co-host.
She's a guest.
All right, so happy almost 4th of July, I guess. Not much to celebrate this year, but
A Great American Bash is what's to celebrate.
yeah, actually, I think that's probably all we have to celebrate at this point. Just get that live tweet tweeted. We are live.
I tweeted it. You just
Yeah.
gotta retweet.
Tweet. I retweeted. All right. A lot to talk about because there were no commercials today, and that made taking notes very difficult.
Well, no, there were a lot of commercials, but we just saw the wrestling along with the commercial.
We had to somehow focus our attention on both being sold things to and wrestling, which was a bit much.
Truly, the Great American Bash.
I don't think it gets more American than that. I curled my hair. I burnt my finger. Can't really see it, but you can see like the redness through there. So I'm gonna be struggling through that pain. Let's start with just one under my feet. Let's start off with the Fatal 4-Way with Tegan Knox, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae. Just had a, as always, stunning showing of being in the ring for about 5 seconds.
Kind of a really interesting way to start the episode. Like, very strong start. I thought this would be something that they throw in towards the end, if not sort of a main event fight.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm lagging a lot. I can see that. It's annoying me. Stay really still. It was a really strong start, and I'm sure that they did it because I think they did it because it's the Great American Bash, and they were like, let's go out on a high note. I had something reloading constantly in one of my tabs. But I think they just wanted to like kind of go out with, like, start off with a bang, and they did a good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
It started with just immediately jumping away from Mia. I always think it's funny because constantly talks such a big game, and every single time she's just like, ah. This was a long fight. We had Mia clotheslining Tegan. Ray pulled Mia Yim from the ring. And then, Mia Yim kind of got us out all in one go. And, good for her because I'd be tired of that small little thing too. For Mia. There was a lot that happened. I'm just going to try to go through some of the highlights. And by that, I mean, you got Candice out, and then there was like a 3-way brawl. Kai got just absolutely punished tonight. Were not a ton of moments of like any sort of help on her end. I got knocked out by Yim. And then we had Tegan and Mia Yim against each other. There was a point where Mia Yim basically was like on Tegan like a horse, but flipped her into a pin, which was a little jarring to watch. So basically, I kind of expected it to be Tegan and Dakota at the end of the day because they have their beef right now, and it makes sense that like this final big showing be against the two rivals. If it wasn't going to be Mia and Candice, it was going to be Tegan and Dakota against each other at the end of the day.
It's not who I wanted, but it's who I expected. I definitely wanted Mia to be one of the final two, especially since she is the most impressive out of all four of those wrestlers.
This does now set up Mia for her. They announced that there's going to be next week street fight with Mia and Candice, which, if it's anything like the street fight was during Takeover, I think that'll be really exciting.
I
think Mia will be able to get some of that rage out.
I don't think it'll be quite that level, because that was a whole like backlot they built.
More so, what I mean is, like, I feel like a street fight, you know, there's not many rules. You can use whatever you want to fight someone. You don't really have to stay confined to the ring, and I think that's gonna be good for Mia to kind of just be like, use Candice as her punching bag the way she's been wanting to, I think, for quite a few weeks now.
And Johnny Gargano crawls out from under the ring like Dexter Lumis did.
But Keith Lee's just there to, like...
He's like driving a car.
We got Kai on top of Tegan. I really gave her a run for her money at the very least. I do really enjoy Tegan's like shocked face, like. But ultimately, I got Kai headbutted Knox, I think, and then
Knox
got up on the turnbuckle.
Tegan headbutted Dakota like several times.
Yes, okay. Then Tegan gets up on the turnbuckle. She jumped on Kai, and then Kai still got up. She drop kicked Kai and finally covered and pinned.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a long moment where I was like sitting there and I was like, I don't think it actually happened. I think we might be here for the next 5 years of our lives. I do think that this was a good showing, because I mean, I think I've been kind of disappointed with a lot of like the women's wrestling among all the WWE products.
Yeah, like Tegan has been somebody that they've been kind of shoving into the spotlight a lot, and I've never been really impressed with her. But today she was better than she's really ever been, at least from what we've seen. She wasn't the best of that four-way, but she was better than she has ever been.
I think there's a lot to say for somebody like Tegan and also like Dakota, where overlooking the fact that these are in fights, the ability to take so many hits, because there were a couple moments where like people just got absolutely shattered and still managed to get up. I think that says at least a lot for how they've been writing a lot of the women, especially in NXT, because I think the best thing about this fight tonight was that there was no interference allowed. It was one of the rules. I think that was awesome because we got to see Candice without Johnny. We got to see Mia without Keith. We got to see Candice without Candice. We got to see Dakota without Raquel. I guess we just got to see Tegan because Tegan doesn't really have somebody that.
Yeah, she does.
It's her battles for
her. She had Shotzi.
Oh yeah, but Shotzi, I don't think we've ever really seen her interfere much.
It's because they're faces.
She's kind of got yeah. I enjoyed seeing that because I've been getting better about how they play the interference, and not making it like the deciding factor of a match, or at least making it like level, as we'll see later on. It was just nice to see a match where like normally there would be somebody coming out to like the rescue of someone else, and just got to see these four women just absolutely trying to crush each other. So, I was really happy with this. I thought they started off on a really good note. I honestly, I look forward to the women's wrestling so much more in NXT than I do in SmackDown, even Raw for the most part. I think.
Yeah, I
Also
agree.
seems to be a lot more variety.
And they're also, it seems like they're more, I guess, brutal with women's wrestling. In Raw and SmackDown, it feels very delicate. Like, you have the Iconics who aren't so much brutal and aggressive. You have Sasha, who's sort of on the borderline, and Alexa Bliss is delicate too. Although you have Nikki Cross, who is very aggressive, but like that's her whole character, is that she is aggressive and she's the aggressive one.
It seems like, at least from what I've seen, and I wonder if maybe this is just because like NXT is sort of like the training grounds, if you will. Um, I wonder if maybe they like have a little less not, I don't want to say care, but like a little less caution with the women on NXT
It's
versus like the higher up like superstars.
Yeah, it's definitely where they feel like they can experiment with more stuff.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's been a lot more obvious aggression, which is nicer to see now, especially because like we've got Natty, we've got Ruby coming back, we've got Liv, who's sort of aggressive. But it seems like SmackDown, they just kind of like a fragile baby bird that they're trying to handle with care. Um, I don't know why that is. Yeah, NXT definitely has like a lot more brutality.
That might
Um,
be like a sign of difference in leadership, like Triple H versus
yeah,
Vince.
Triple H is like, maybe ladies, they can punch.
Yeah,
You know?
and I think you especially see that today, how you had the match between Rhea Ripley and Johnny Gargano and Aaliyah, how Triple H.
Stone.
Oh, Robert Stone. Who did I say? Johnny
Johnny
Gargano. They're pretty they're pretty much the same, just with different timelines. Um, but I feel like Triple H is kind of understanding of like women can fight as well as men can. So why should we kind of separate them as much as Vince does?
And we've also been seeing, again, going back to the Rhea Ripley fight, which we'll talk about later. Just in general, recently we've seen more mixed matches on NXT than we've seen in recent times on Raw or SmackDown. We did just see the mixed match on SmackDown Monday, but just it does feel like Triple H just kind of just like, it doesn't matter. But they are, if they can punch, they can punch, and I don't mind them fighting each other.
Yeah.
I like that because obviously shows a big difference in the way that like things are done.
And even on the Raw mixed match, the men and the women weren't hitting each other. It was just the men could only hit the men, the women could only hit the women, which was different for that fight. How it was, Rhea just hit whoever she want.
And also with it was Johnny and Keith and Mia and Candace. It nearly decked Johnny a couple times.
And Johnny almost killed Candace.
Also, I mean, I don't think Keith ever saw a big reason to have to injure Candace, but like, I feel weird saying this, but like at least like they were able to like lay hands on each other.
Yeah.
You know? It wasn't just like, no, this is a lady, I've got to get out of the ring.
It doesn't feel like two completely separate departments of men and women.
Yeah. And it does wonders for them because I've been enjoying watching NXT more and more every week.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely comes into play because I'm not bored by either group the show. Then after that match, I feel bad that I flew through, but there was just so much happened during it. We had Damian Priest backstage. Poor interviewer asks him a question. He's like, I have a message for someone. Never goes back to the question that this lady has to ask him. He says that he doesn't understand what kind of man Cameron Grimes is, and I don't think any of us do, honestly. And then challenges Cameron to a match. I don't believe that we will see that match anytime soon. At least not next week. Because next week's pretty fully... next week is pretty fully booked. But wouldn't mind seeing that rematch because I think Damian Priest needs to finally get his leg up a little bit. And then we had Timmy Thatcher's unsanctioned murder time against Oney Lorcan.
Oh boy. I think we can summarize this in short by saying Timothy Thatcher absolutely murders Oney.
Okay, so first of all, Timothy Thatcher, not Oney Lorcan, but Timothy Thatcher is out of his head. I'm in love with it. He's so crazy. I cannot wait until the day that because we have to get a match with Tim Tams and Dexter. I want to see that so badly. They both seem to really enjoy just being absolutely mangled. It seems to be one of their hobbies. Yeah, I mean, both men are in like the grappling style of wrestling, like the very classical wrestling. And there was one moment where Timothy had Oney's arm behind him. I think he was like pulling it up. Then he wrenched it over, and I was like, I felt my tendon snap as he did it. Kudos to Oney for having muscles that must be strong enough to not have that happen.
This whole match was just man spaghetti, basically.
I have a note that just says, I don't know whose legs are whose. I've lost track of everything. This was another one of those matches where there was slapping, but like the slaps like looked painful, like very not nice at all.
I mean, the thing I have for slapping is it's not really like, it's not something you would actually use in a fight. Like if this was a real wrestling match, you wouldn't be slapping each other. If you're the Big Show, you absolutely would, and you could slap somebody and they'd have a heart attack. But like when Drew McIntyre slaps, it's like a form of intimidation. It's like taunting, basically. Either you're big enough to where slaps can murder somebody, or you're taunting somebody with your slaps. I feel like those are the only two appropriate ways to slap. Otherwise, it's just like a cheap way to get a loud sound and a way to fill time.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really get that vibe off of these particular slaps. Because you could see the redness on Timothy Thatcher's chest. So it definitely like looked real. I feel like the whole point of this match was that Oney tweeted yesterday, I think, saying like, "Call the lawyers, call an ambulance, kill the cops. I'm going to murder Timothy Thatcher."
That what happened.
Yeah, I know. Kind of like, sorry, bud.
It's like that video that's like, call an ambulance, but not for me.
Oh no, I got something in my teeth. Oh, how
on
embarrassing
camera
for
too.
Elizabeth.
Embarrassing, disgusting.
Am I pretty yet? You know what that is. But oh, I mean, this was really just Timothy Thatcher trying to rip Oney Lorcan's arm out of its socket, and then Oney Lorcan doing the exact same thing to Timothy Thatcher. It looked incredibly painful. We didn't get any like crazy high flying stuff, and I kind of enjoyed that because this was wrestling. It wasn't just wrestling, this was wrestling.
Yeah.
And at one point they were like, Oney must have hit Thatcher really hard, and they were like, "Oh, I hope that Timothy didn't lose any teeth. Like, he doesn't look phased at all." And I was like, even if he did, even if he had lost teeth, I don't think that he would have cared. I think he would have just moved on and continued his fight. I think that's how out of his head he is.
And they were referring to the Matt Riddle, Timothy Thatcher fight when they said that.
But they were talking about a punch that Oni Lurkin landed on Timothy.
Oh, were they? Oh, okay.
Because he got punched in the jaw.
Hmm.
And we got a lot of suplexes. That was awesome. And eventually, yeah, he had Oni's arm all the way back, just pulling it and pulling it and pulling it over like his shoulder, and Oni just was like, more, and tapped all the way out, leaving crazy eyes to him, or to win rather. I'm glad that we finally got to see Timothy Thatcher fighting like a real person, not simply his demons. I miss seeing him in the ring. I don't think that they have a ton of people that they want to put him against right now because Karrion seems really busy with the Keith Lee stuff. Dexter is obviously busy to dismantle Undisputed Era. Well, so I think those are the only two obvious choices.
The whole Keith Lee thing didn't stop Bronson Reed from challenging Karrion again. So they could do more.
Oh. And he's got like a little time on the side for this. Yeah, I just love watching Timothy Thatcher. He's so out of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then after that, I think we had a Karrion Kross promo somewhere in here, but I don't think I wrote it down.
It was like this weird video that it kind of showed them, but like just like Scarlett's hand, like Karrion's bald head. It didn't show a whole lot. It was basically just like kind of recapping their motivations right now, and like Keith smashed the hourglass, Karrion wants Adam Cole's title, and I guess the US title from Keith Lee. So
smash the hourglass. I
have a feeling that Karrion's gonna go after Keith before the fight next week, or go after whoever wins and take all, or just show up in the middle of the fight and be like, I'm gonna take it all right now, even though that's probably not how the title match would work.
I think they have a little more respect for it. But, I mean, you never know. They did have Dexter come out for Adam Cole's title. So.
True.
It wasn't even really for Adam Cole's title. It was just to defend Velveteen Dream. Then we had Robert Stone and Aaliyah in a handicap match versus Rhea Ripley. We started with Robert Stone coming out in circle-style pants, essentially.
He was pulling a Rocky.
Goggles. I was kind of excited. I thought maybe like, they're gonna like make him come back in some form, because he did wrestle for a while. He just doesn't do it anymore. That's not what happened at all. It worked. Robert and Aaliyah worked together really well for half the match, and that kind of got up on Rhea because they were able to, like, Rhea would pin Aaliyah, Robert would pull her off, Rhea would pin Robert, Aaliyah would pull her off or like distract her in some way, and for a minute it looked like they were gonna win, until that all fell apart because Rhea started throwing Aaliyah into Robert in several different ways, like once off the apron, once into the buckle, and I think that kind of started throwing them off mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the fact that the way this ended was Rhea getting them both into like a leg lock and them both tapping out just goes to show how incredibly strong she is. It terrifies me. And also, I'm kind of attracted, so. I'm kind of glad. I don't think that, because like they were saying like, oh, Rhea's not going to be able to join, or isn't going to join Robert Stone's brand if she loses and stuff like that. And I was like, Mr. Regal specifically said that he couldn't actually force her to join Robert Stone's brand, whether he won or lost. So I don't think that was going to happen in the first place, but whatever. This does, however, look a little more like Robert might hit an even lower rock bottom because and Aaliyah were kind of pinned against each other at different points.
I'm
So,
gonna disagree with you. I think this is gonna give him some newfound confidence because he might say like, "Oh, I landed some good hits against Rhea, and you did a great job too, Aaliyah." Or Aaliyah will try and like give him that confidence, saying like he did a great job despite losing. Because Aaliyah is a very like comforting person for Robert.
true.
I don't think she'll let him get into that slump again.
Seems to blindly support him,
Yeah.
which I also don't understand how he was thinking that he would get Rhea on his team, considering Aaliyah doesn't like her. So I think that was going to be good for the brand, anyways. I do want to see him find someone else, though. I don't want to see him fall apart.
Yeah, either he will get someone else or he will make Aaliyah like championship material.
Which also I wouldn't mind seeing because I've been doing that well recently, and I think like the whole shtick kind of as of late, outside of like Robert distracting her opponents, and that she's not as good as really anyone she's fought, and I think that she has enough power and enough strength to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
But oh, I don't know. I don't know where that's going. I'm glad that we got to see Robert Stone even deeper in character. I can't even imagine him as a wrestler now that I've seen him as this manager because he's just such a dork. I love that for him. Then after that, we got sort of a promo. Sort of. Had Roddy in sort of in therapy again, but not like therapy with Kyle, rather therapy
With
like a therapist, it seemed. With his thoughts.
It did seem like some internal recapping, basically.
Yeah. And just him talking about how Dexter Lumis stares at him too much. And this kind of seamlessly got into Roderick Strong versus Dexter Lumis strap match. Which didn't quite go exactly how I thought it would. But, oh boy. Oh, sweet, sweet Roddy. The sweet poor boy. Immediately gets out of the ring the moment Dexter gets into it. Dexter did his weird slither, which I love and hate all at once. And then Roddy refused to get back into the ring until Dexter moved back. And then refused to put the strap on. So he eventually jumped Dexter, who was having none of that. He got some hits in, but it wasn't enough to phase Psychopath. And Dexter forced the strap onto him. Roddy got on top of Dexter a couple times. He managed to overpower him several times. It just didn't help that Dexter basically dragged him around like a dog for most of it. He nearly got shoved into a trunk again. Glad he didn't, because I don't think that would have been like reversible on his psyche. And as it was like looking a little bleak for Roddy, Bobby Fish comes out, distract Dexter.
Not only distracts, he basically joins in the fight.
Yeah. He gave Roddy the chance to drop kick him, and then pin, which Dexter kicked out of. Dexter then clotheslined Bobby with the strap, eliminating that threat. And then wrapped the strap around poor Roddy and put the baby to sleep for a little bit. Just his good old get through this together. I didn't think that Roddy was going to have as many chances as he did. I really didn't see Roddy pinning Dexter at any point tonight.
You see, I thought he would, just because this seemed like where they might have closed off the storyline and moved Dexter on to somebody else. But no, it very much looks like it's going to continue on.
I just wonder where they're going to go from here with this, because Adam Cole obviously is not interested in participating in any form. It's really just Roddy and Bobby at this point.
Well,
so
I think once Adam's done with this whole championship challenge thing, I think he'll get involved with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, right now it doesn't seem like he has much time for it. I wonder if maybe might see like a handicap match at some point with Roddy and Bobby versus Dexter.
Yeah.
Which I think if that were the case, they would 100% be able to beat Dexter. At this point, I just don't know, like, what are they going to do? Like, send Roddy into, like, a catatonic coma or something? After tonight, I mean, maybe, like, Roddy will feel really good about himself because at least he did, like, sort of good. He just happened to get choked out in the process.
I want to see a cage match between the three of them. I feel like that's perfect for Lumis.
Maybe. I think if you put a cage around Roddy and Dexter, regardless of if Bobby's there or not, I think Roddy would just, like, you know, the fainting goats, the myotonic goats. That'd be Roddy. He'd just be like, nope.
It'll be perfect because he can't run from the fight, and Dexter can just, like, climb up on top of the cage and just stare at them.
Rat.
Just stare at them like this.
Oh no! That haunt me. Oh god, imagine. I want to see more Dexter in I just want to see more of Dexter against opponents that, like, I think would actually maybe have a chance against him. It was very weird to see Dexter in pain tonight, though.
Mm-hmm.
For a couple moments where Roddy was able to slam him into the ground, and just him, like, going like, Bloody Marys are catching up to you, Dexter.
Yeah, I think he actually thrives with weaker opponents like Roddy, because he has this persona that's just, like, mortally immortal. You know what I mean? Like, he's practically invincible. And if he was going against somebody like on the same strength level as him, like, say, Karrion Kross, it wouldn't do justice to his character, I think, unless you were going for that route in his story where he's, like, suddenly realizing he's not as strong as he thought he was. Then he turns to Velveteen Dream, unfortunately, and is like,
no, because Velveteen Dream doesn't want him anymore.
Oh yeah, and
Turn to Velveteen Dream,
and we'll probably not see any more Velveteen Dream on NXT for a while.
I think the thing that worries me about Dexter right now is that Dexter's kind of always had this psychopath persona, regardless of the circuit that he was fighting in. It always seems like, even just, like, looking back at all of his older pictures from before WWE, his persona's always been, like, crazy. Sorry, the fireworks are throwing me. Like, Dennis with, like, the buzzer and It's Always Sunny. Like, there's kind of room for movement with, like, people like Karrion Kross. Timothy Thatcher doesn't really need a persona per se. I don't know what they could possibly do to move Dexter in any direction, heel or face at this point, besides just making him, like, an ultimate heel. And there are some people who have thrived their whole careers as being heels. I don't know. It's like he's like a one-man band, and there's not, like, much of a chance of him partnering with anyone. I don't know.
I can easily see him being a face, especially after the crowd chanting for him today and after his whole incident with Velveteen. The whole thing with him is he basically has a child's mind. That's why he loves to draw. That's why he loves to, like,
The tortured artist.
right, tortured artist, with the child's mind. That's why he latches onto people so quickly. He latched onto Velveteen, and I'm sure he would do that with anyone. So he's basically just like a frightened puppy right now, a frightened dog with very sharp teeth.
The dog backed into a corner.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I don't know why. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that I think you can make him a face, but he wouldn't do that alone. He would have to be paired up with somebody.
Imagine him being paired up with somebody and like it's basically Dexter learns the true meaning of friendship and uses his crazy eyes for good. Then at some point, like if they wanted to ever turn him back to heel, he could be like spited by these friends in some way.
He's not invited to a party.
Oh,
He just shows up at the party with his crazy eyes and just starts flailing everywhere.
oh no. I hope that they can do something with him. There's no need to right now, obviously, but I feel like the crazier they make them in WWE, the more I'm just like, baby, crazy-eyed little fella. Except for Karrion Kross, he scares me.
And Cameron Grimes.
Cameron Grimes is not insane.
He's crazy though.
In the same way that he's not insane in the same way that Timothy Thatcher or Dexter are. He's just out of his head. After the fated strat match, we had sort of a promo for next week's Keith Lee Adam Cole fight. Kind of moving. Keith Lee just talking about how much the title means to him, and they kind of like went through his history. Then Adam Cole spoke for a little while. It wasn't really anything special. It was just like, hey guys, remember we're good at promos for big fights. So if you're wondering, in case you didn't remember our women's three-way promo before Takeover, just this one. Then had Johnny and Candice backstage. An interviewer comes up to them. Johnny yells about people being jealous of Candice. I think he was saying that Mia was jealous of her. And then Candice runs away from the hall she sees Mia and decides that she's going to kill her. Johnny follows and then got a surprise visit from Isaiah Swerve Scott, who has not been fighting for a long and hot minute, who was defending Mia for some reason. And Johnny, I guess, he challenged Johnny to a fight. So I guess we're going to see that at some point soon. We might see that next week. To be fair, they didn't really announce the Oni Lorcan fight with Timothy in any grand way. So we might see that. That'll be something that we'll have to keep our eye on. Shawn Michaels was there to break up the fight, which was cool. Happy to see his little dad bod in the ring. And by in the ring, I mean on the ring, but doing something. Kind of hoping that we'd see Triple H, but sadly, we don't get that.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Mr. H is too busy. And then after that, we got Santos Escobar, his merry band of manly men. They came out, and I appreciated this because I think we finally understand why Santos is doing this. Why he's doing whatever it is that he's doing, because he's kind of just under the vibe right now of, you imagine luchadors as just like these masked men, like doing high flying stunts, but we're more than just that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a noble cause. Yeah. I did kind of half expect like Rey Mysterio to be like, hey, wait, one of those masked men, be nice to me.
I could see him like maybe at some pay-per-view event, like challenging Rey Mysterio or something. Because he's probably going to want to go after a big name.
He might not want to go after another luchador because he's kind of going after people who see luchadors in a certain way, might not want to be like, oh, I want to fight luchadors. I want to fight people who envision luchadors in the stereotypical fashion. I wonder if we'll still see where this is going because I'm not sure still.
Does Drake Maverick think that? I don't think he fits that category. I don't know.
I'm wanting some poetic over here, okay?
Like, I get why he fought him at first, and why Drake Maverick continues to go after him, but it doesn't seem like he has a clear plan as far as like who he's targeting.
Speaking of, Drake Maverick does come out wearing a neck brace, which is funny because he was slammed on his tailbone, so neck brace was eventually just for show because he rips it off.
He did have.
It just led me to be a little confused.
He did have some of that muscle tape on the back of his neck.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe something happened when he was being slammed. I don't know if the muscle tape could be totally for show.
Could be.
But I wonder if maybe like, I mean, Santos kind of had him like this. He dropped him, if I'm remembering correctly. I might not be.
I feel like unless you're having like just some light neck pain, if you do need to have like that muscle tape on the back of your neck, like for real, maybe you shouldn't be fighting.
What's to say?
Although it was such like a short thing, and
yeah,
maybe if it is real, maybe he's just having some light neck pain, nothing too serious. Like I can see him. Yeah.
But his wife has too many pillows and it hits his neck when he sleeps.
He has to have that on every day then, even when not wrestling. But except when he's at home and doesn't have that tape, he just uses Scotch tape.
No, he doesn't wear it at home because he's like, his wife has yelled at him too many times for talking about the pillows, and he's like, no, honey, it's fine. It's fine. Drake Maverick comes out, tries to attack Santos. It's no use. His two men just immediately stop him. Then, for whatever reason, Breezango comes out. It's hard to identify Breezango until you see Fandango's pants because Tyler Breeze has short hair now. We were both sitting there like, they come out to defend Drake, and then they say, hey, you want to fight? And now we got a
triple threat?
Yeah.
Oh no. 3-way tag team.
6-man tag match.
Yeah.
With Santos and his men, whose names I have, of course, forgotten.
Montero or something? And Lyle Montero, something like that.
Joaquin. Oh, I know like one's like Joaquin Weil or something.
Yeah.
I don't pretend that I know. Yeah, so now we've got that 6-man tag match. I'm just happy to see Drake Maverick, getting some use out of the contract that he signed with Triple H. After that, we had Cameron Grimes backstage mimicking Damien, and I didn't understand that he was mimicking him at first.
It's, real quick, it's Joaquin Wild and Raul Mendoza.
Thank you, okay. I knew their names for one episode, and I remember knowing their names and being like, I know this. And then every time ever since, especially tonight, because I was just trying to take so many notes. Yeah, so then we had Cameron Grimes backstage, thinking Damien, confusing me to no end for a minute, because I was like, that's not his voice. Might be his normal voice. We had a nice long poem from Cameron about how he wants to challenge Keith and Adam or something. He wants to challenge whoever wins the Keith Adam fight, and he's going to the moon. Really like my last manic brain cell, just running the ship down there. I feel like I'm always confused because I don't see him as like a strong fighter, and then he gets in the ring and he always kind of surprises me. But that being said,
he's definitely,
I don't know, man.
I definitely enjoy him fighting more than Damian Priest, at least in terms of like athleticism.
seen Damian Priest like in top form quite yet, though.
Yeah.
I mean, him versus Finn kind of took him halfway through the match, so we didn't really get to see much of that. Sad that we didn't get to see Finn at all tonight. But so real quick to recap, because I did make a note of this. I think we talked about it. Yeah, the 6-man tag was announced. Big fight with Mia and Candice was announced. Adam and Keith was announced, which wasn't really announced. We knew it was happening. And then we had our main event fight. No commercials, almost quite literally. They did do a couple ad reads. Sasha versus Io Shirai. My God, was that a fight? Mm-hmm. That was a whopper. Possible whopper right there. This is my ad read. Sasha got a leg up pretty easily to start. She really just destroyed Io for a minute there. I think I appreciate Sasha sometimes because Sasha does do a lot of submission holds.
Yeah.
Shirai managed to drop kick Sasha's jaw into like the next century. And then Sasha rolled out, so Io crossbody slammed her outside of the ring. And that was kind of where it started turning a little bit. Shirai got the upper hand for a little bit, but then Bayley distracted Io with
the belt.
Or the car horns. The car horns were first.
Oh, right. Also, can I just say, after this fight, the Frankensteiner is my new favorite move. That was insane.
That was a lot. We got to see a lot of Sasha just isolating Io in the corner, pummeling her with her knees, because I think Sasha's knees are like made of cement. She uses them a lot. Had Io strung up on the ropes at one point and did the thing that I think she did this Monday. Yeah, she did it Monday to Asuka. She had like her across like the ropes in the corner and then went down on her torso. I was like,
I think that's one of her signatures.
Yeah. So we had eventually got back. She tried to moonsault but didn't have much luck. I'm not sure. Sasha kind of looked like Sasha did a flip kind of wrong, and she looked like she might have actually hurt herself.
Yeah.
And then at one point, like dropped her on her head. Less. I think she like let her go a little too early in a throw, and then like her head just went into the mat, and I was like, "Oh, she's dead, dead." And the belts came out, which distracted the ref because he and Bayley were playing tug of war over the belt.
But that was the good kind of distraction.
Because then Asuka pulls a Dexter Lumis, comes out from under the ring, spits her green mist at Sasha, giving Io the opportunity to moonsault onto Sasha's back and cover and pin and win for the night, and hopefully kick them out of NXT for a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't remember now. Can you remind me what the Frankensteiner was? Because I remember reacting to it, but I didn't write down exactly what it was.
It was, so I'm trying to remember it exactly. So I think it was Sasha was like standing in the corner, kind of like arms on the ropes, and Io was like on top of her, like sitting on the turnbuckle, legs around kind of her neck. She tumbles forward and does a flip and sends Banks flying with her legs out.
Yes, I do recall now. That was insane.
Mm-hmm.
Leg power that some of these ladies possess just throws my head through a loop. worried me was when Shirai German suplexed Banks, and she went over, and she didn't land on her back the way normal people land on a German suplex. She landed noggin first, and I said, "Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, Stone Cold Steve Austin, help us!" But it was nice to see Asuka. It was nice to see her not only there to support her friend, because I believe that the two are pretty close. Also, just to kind of like get her comeuppance against Sasha after Monday.
Yeah.
Be like,
And that'll definitely throw off her confidence for facing Asuka at Extreme Rules.
I also don't get to see the green mist very often.
Yeah, it was nice to see it this time.
You know, maybe it's a good thing because of the pandemic, but
yeah.
Maybe spitting in people's faces isn't the best way to go about things, but you know, it was Asuka, so I'm gonna give her a pass on it.
And also, she might have like done away with that because she's definitely a face now, and that they might not consider that sort of a face move.
Well, the whole reason that she does it is because like her persona is like sort of like she's the Empress, but like it's supposed to be like kind of like a mystical kind of thing, I guess. And that's like one of her powers, more or less. I just think that she's been so busy with match after match, especially after getting the title, that they haven't really been focusing on her character per se. And that's fine, because I don't think we need to right now. What we're focusing on now is her fighting. And I think as like people get more like, if you look at people like, for example, Drew McIntyre. Drew had a shtick for a while. He still sort of follows it, but he's gotten big enough that you don't need to see that. You're just like, oh, that's Drew McIntyre. There's his thing. You know, Finn Balor doesn't do the Demon Prince thing anymore. Just cool dude in a jacket. Because we know who he is. And I think that it's kind of awesome that they finally are focusing on like Asuka the fighter, not just Asuka like this crazy girl, you know? Yeah, that was a hell of a fight. Again, another example of just like brutal women's wrestling. Even like with Bayley's taunts and stuff, at least it was like I feel like I was watching something of substance. I didn't feel like I was watching like some ladies yelling. I feel like a lot in SmackDown especially. So that was an amazing fight. I guess we move on to our promo. Yeah?
Yeah, promo of
Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, and that you covered it pretty well. So let's do the promo of the night. There was really not much to go on today for promos.
I was gonna say, I was like, did I miss everything or?
So you had the Damien interview, you had the Karrion Kross video, the Roddy promo, which, the Johnny Gargano and Candice interview, which that was interesting to watch. Are you considering the Santos Escobar bit as a promo? Kind of was a promo for the.
Yeah, I guess it was.
And then there was a Cameron Grimes.
If Drake hadn't come out, then it wouldn't have been. If Drake hadn't come out, we definitely would have said it was a promo.
Yeah. God. It's not a super interesting promo day. For me, it's between the Johnny Gargano and Candice interview, and the Santos Escobar Drake Maverick bit. I probably have to give it to Santos Escobar just because we finally got some motivation for his character and why he's doing what he's doing, and I'm curious where they're gonna go with Breezango and Drake Maverick together. Whether that's gonna be a long-term thing or just them helping out a little bit. So
I'm torn because at least with for me, those are the two strongest ones, aside from the fact that I really like that the Roddy one was like a seamless lead into. In the same way that like they normally do Karrion Kross's intros.
Mm-hmm.
However, it wasn't the strongest one, especially because we had to see Dexter Lumis talk, and I don't care for that. But it's kind of a catch-22 for me because, like the Santos Escobar thing, you did make a good point. Where it's like, why Drake Maverick? I kind of understand why Drake Maverick, but more so why Breezango. We did learn more about Santos, which I think we all needed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm torn because the Johnny and Candice Mia thing brought back Swerve. I'm really tired of the Candice and Mia hatred because it's going nowhere. Every time it's just Mia Yim being like, stop. I've defeated you 41 times. Let's call it a day. Please.
Yeah, and it's also frustrating since we never really got sort of a continuation of Johnny accidentally hitting Candice several times. They sort of just brushed that under the rug.
Weird.
Yeah, very weird.
I think Swerve's going to have more promos in the future, I'm sure. I'm going with Santos.
Okay.
That seems like the only one that makes sense. And I think that's the thing with it being like commercials is that they're just like, I mean, this is almost like a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So there isn't a ton of promos to go off of. So I guess that has to be like the best one.
Yeah.
The one that we weren't even sure if we were going to call a promo is going to be our promo of the night. So after that, let's talk about our tear of the night.
All right. So I'm not sure if we'll agree on this, but so first we had Mia Yim, who was awesome in the first fight. Amazing way to start off the episode. Although it is such a shame that she was the second one eliminated, despite her absolutely dominating everyone in the ring. Her, what was it? Her flying neck holds, was it?
Oh, hang on. Let me...
Flying neck spin, that's it. Her, oh, you gonna... Yeah?
I'm trying my best.
Well, I think it's a flying neck spin.
You keep talking, and if I see something that says anything else.
But yeah, her flying neck spins were... Flying head scissors. Okay. Her flying head scissors was awesome. Normally you see it from luchadors and the occasional small wrestler like Casey Catanzaro. But it was really unexpected to see that from Mia Yim. So I guess she just brought a lot of excitement to a fight that would have otherwise been, just okay. And then after that, you had the man spaghetti with Timothy Thatcher, who was my favorite of that fight, and he's always super unique as a fighter, super fun to watch just because of how insane and brutal he is. How it seems like he will never ever tap at all.
Just for the pain.
But he was just brutal. And then after that, I was definitely most impressed by Aaliyah in the Rhea Ripley, Robert Stone Aaliyah fight. I thought she did a good job of kind of mixing her character with her fighting, and her athleticism was probably the most impressive out of that fight. Because I think she also did the flying head scissors. And I always love seeing that move used. And then, of course, Dexter Lumis from that fight. Not the best we've seen of Dexter. He was great. I love seeing his closed fist punches. Um, but definitely, yeah, not the best we've seen of him. Mainly because this was kind of Roddy's time to shine a little bit, time to show his confidence. Until the very end where you got that headlock. But still, he's been better in the past. We didn't see him at his fullest. And then lastly, I mean, who else am I gonna pick from that fight besides Io, who gave me my new favorite move, the Frankensteiner. She is. I wasn't super convinced from the triple threat at TakeOver. I thought it was kind of iffy that she won, but after this fight, she wholeheartedly deserves it. And I think that's what this whole fight was about, was her sort of claiming that she's the best and she deserves it. So, with all that recapped, I'm going to give my fighter of the night to Io Shirai.
Oof, okay.
What, can I guess what yours is? Can I guess?
It's not Dexter Lumis.
Timothy Thatcher. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
I leave. Go. I'm like, I love Io to death. I really do. I just really like watching a man get like every muscle in his body worked over and somehow still not give half of a hoot about it. I personally don't think that we get to see a lot of that in WWE. They only have a handful of like classical wrestlers. I think that getting to see it finally after having to wait a while because we were screwed out of Drew Gulak, but it's very rare that we get to see two technical wrestlers fighting each other, and to get to see that finally was like the fresh air. It just takes so much skill and so much brain power to be able to do what he does in a ring, and also for Oni Lorcan to do what he does in the ring, and to counter that and be able to like work out of it. A lot of wrestling, like it's sort of like a magician's trick where you can be like, well, he had this up his sleeve or something like that. With that kind of wrestling, there doesn't seem to be like a lot of room for like, oh, well, maybe he was doing this. Like, no, he's ripping his shoulder over his spine. So I don't know how we can pretend that doesn't hurt. It just makes like the tapping out feel so much more worth it, because I feel like maybe he is actually tapping out because it hurts like a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I love Io Shirai, I really do. I feel like because there was nothing that seemed see at all during the Timothy Thatcher match. And there were a couple moments, as there always are with any long fight, where like somebody's getting tired and it looks like punch just doesn't land quite the way. And also the fact that she did drop Sasha Banks on her head during a suplex, which isn't really her fault, but that kind of marred that for me because it looked bad. I do have to go with Timothy Thatcher, I think.
Well, I'm still not sold on Thatcher. I do like him as a wrestler, and I liked him today, but I think Io just was better in every way, although it is very nice to see his technical wrestling prowess. He didn't sell me with the mix with his character and his fighting. It felt like there was a lot more passion in who Io was fighting rather than who Thatcher was fighting, although there is a history between Oni and Timothy. It didn't seem like I didn't feel sold that there was that history between them, at least while they were fighting.
Didn't think that the two of them trying to rip each other's arms out of their sockets kind of sold you on any sort of pre-existing hatred?
No, because I'm sure Timothy would do that to any wrestler he fought. But I think Io was way more entertaining for me. I think she just knocked it out of the park with her fighting and her performance in general. So, unless I just sold you there, I think we're
I don't think waste any more time on you pretending to sell me because you're not going to.
I know.
Man.
I'm totally not typing Io Shirai into the fighter of the night.
Sir? We'll come over there.
Alright, now shall we move on to fight of the night? Okay.
Recap him, baby.
So, the first fight, the fight we started off with, was a great fight to start off with. The four-way for the chance to challenge Io. It was great. I do think that they sort of eliminated their ace in the hole once they eliminated Mia Yim. You could have had a much more entertaining fight, although I do love how she was eliminated. How Dakota kind of did the German suplex on her, or like did the bridge to take her out.
I think we might not know what a German suplex is. I'm pretty sure a German suplex is lifting someone from like a base position and throwing them backwards. While I thought it was just like the bridge suplex, but I think we might be wrong.
I know
There's been like podcasts talking about it like that.
I know a regular suplex is grabbing them, flipping them up, and bringing them behind you. I know a superplex is doing that from the ropes or the belt buckle. Germans, I forget what a German suplex is, but either
I thought
way.
it was like going from like standing, like you're standing, and then you like bend your knees to lift them over, so that you end up. Because I think that's how most German suplexes end up in the bridge, because you're going from like a standing position without really lifting them off the ground. You're basically pulling them backwards. I don't know how to describe that, but anyways, we will read up on that because I think I've been saying it wrong this whole time. I think I've been calling every suplex a German suplex.
Come
on.
But I did really like to see the conflict between Tegan and Dakota. Although we could have gotten a lot more in terms of like very clearly showing their personal conflict and a lot more emotion between them. It was knowing their history, it makes that fight a lot better. But then you move on to the Timothy Thatcher Oni Lorcan fight. I've already said a lot of my feelings on how Timothy Thatcher fought that fight. It was a very entertaining grapple match. But it doesn't have sort of the lead-in a lot of fights need, and it doesn't really have like a light at the end of a tunnel. Like, we don't really know where it's gonna go, but not in the sense where you're questioning, you're just confused. But it was a very entertaining fight at the surface. And then the Rhea Ripley, Aaliyah, Robert Stone fight, that was all for the story and the characters and for the comedy of seeing Robert Stone dressed up as Rocky trying to fight this very scary woman. Not the most impressive fight, but definitely still entertaining. And then you get to the Rowdy and Lumis fight, which very, very entertaining. Very awesome fight. Wish we had seen Dexter at his height, at his peak. I can see why we didn't. But it felt very surface level until Bobby Fish came out. That's it. it felt like the strap wasn't used that much too. It never really came into play unless Dexter was just pulling Roddy or just whipping him. And then we got to see the clothesline on Bobby.
I mean, also the strap was like half the reason why Dexter ended up winning.
Right. But like thinking back to the Daniel Bryan Bray Wyatt strap match, they used the strap a whole lot more in that fight. But they did make good use of the car and trying to get Roddy in the car.
I just love like the mental processes of like Dexter being like, okay. I open the trunk. I can. All right. Can I get Roddy into this? Maybe.
And then you had, lastly, the Io Shirai Sasha Banks match, which used Bayley's distractions perfectly. If you have distractions, there's a good way to use them. This was a good way to use them, not just because Asuka showed up, but also Asuka showed up, so that made the fight like it capped it off perfectly. And the fight itself was super fun. Io giving her all, Sasha giving her all, but also being a little cocky too. And then Bayley coming in with the dog. That was amazing. Definitely the best intro you could get for a fight. But as far as the fight of the night, I'm not so sure between the Dexter Lumis Roddy fight and the main event fight. Oh, it's a tough one. It really is. But I think I gotta give it to the main event fight between Io Shirai and Sasha Banks, just because that fight had the perfect reveal of Asuka, the perfect motivation for Io wanting to fight, and the perfect ending to top it all off. And you also had Bayley and Sasha driving in on a car, which is a fantastic intro.
On a car?
What?
You said driving in on a car.
Wasn't one of them sitting on top of the car? I feel like they
sitting on top of the seats.
Yeah, that's on the car.
My heart is in Dexter and
Dexter and Bobby.
Dexter and Roddy and Bobby. My heart is there because obviously I love Dexter with my whole heart. He scares me absolutely shitless. He's such a wonderful fighter. And sweet Roddy. I love him so much. But when I look past my biases. Look past my biases.
Biases?
I look past my bias towards the Dexter Lumis Roddy match. Next podcast, we're going to learn how to speak English. I look past all of that because I would pick it instantly because I do adore the two of them. Just because of this, I don't want to say the story because the story on both ends is compelling. I do have to say that the Io and Sasha fight it feels like so much more when you see how they've been kind of making the women's fights out to be recently.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that we got to see Sasha lose, which I'm not normally rooting for because I think Sasha's an amazing fighter. But it does show some cracks in the armor.
Yeah.
Not only that, it was cracks in the armor further towards her relationship with Bayley, because if Bayley hadn't been arguing with that ref, Asuka wouldn't have had the ability to come out of nowhere and spit the cream mist at her. I didn't think about that. I thought about it in the moment, and then I did not think about it again until this moment. So I think that's I think the one thing that the Dexter Lumis Roddy fight didn't give us was a stepping stone to the next chapter.
Right.
As to where this could possibly head. I think that's why I have to choose the Io Sasha fight, because we got Asuka, which was awesome, but we also got another piece of the story falling into place. And I think that means a lot, because I'm dying for this story to finally reach its end. Yeah. That also, the fighting was awesome.
Well,
that is my fight of the night.
To recap, we have for promo of the night, Santos Escobar's announcement. Fighter of the night, we are tied between Io Shirai and Timothy Thatcher. If you want to help decide which is the fighter of the night, go visit us on our Twitter at
Timothy.
What? At the Pinfall Cast, and you can cast your vote on whether you think the fighter of the night should be Io Shirai or Timothy Thatcher. And lastly, our fight of the night, Io Shirai versus Sasha Banks.
Ooh. So that's our podcast. We'll be back on Friday for another one.
SmackDown.
I'll be wearing my Sheamus shirt finally. Hopefully tomorrow. Friday night's episode doesn't make me want to pull my hair out and cry.
They just canceled entirely.
You know what? They may as well have done that last week. So, and I swear to God, if they do a recap of the Undertaker tribute on Friday, I will be on this stream trashed because I can't stand it anymore.
What if they do another Undertaker tribute?
Just don't show me the Boneyard match again.
they show the Boneyard match again, but in reverse.
It's the rebirth of AJ Styles. Oh God. The Undertaker comes out and he's like, I was lying, that wasn't the last ride. No idea. Anyways, so that is our
that's our match.
That's our match for tonight. That's our podcast for tonight. Blister has only gotten word. You can see it even better now. I'm in a lot of pain. And maybe by Friday it will be healed.
We'll see.
Who's to say? Stay tuned. You'll find out. Don't you want to know? Hair will also be straight then. So this will be for naught.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to follow us on Twitter, again, the podcast Twitter is at the Pinfall Cast. If you want to follow me, I am at Mark Milkdud on Twitter. You can also follow my Twitch. It's Mark Cameron. Just throwing that in there.
Oh.
Can
I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Your name on Twitter is Mark Milkdud. I've never once seen this man eat a milk dud. Not once.
I don't think I've ever eaten a milk dud.
Oh, you poser.
That was just my nickname in high school, and I just ran with it.
I like milk dud so much. Name your top 5 singles.
Don't follow Liz on Twitter. Don't. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you Friday.
It's Eliza Lane 23. Follow me. I don't do much. I just make dumb comments all the time.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you Friday.